everyone, and welcome to the Evolve with Emily show YouTube channel. The best way to support the show on this YouTube channel is to subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment, and or share it with a friend. I hope that you guys enjoy this episode, and whichever way you choose to support the show, I just wanted to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys so much. I hope that today's message and episode brings some bit of positive change to your life. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Evolve with Emily show. I am your host, Emily Hayden, and today we have digital creator, YouTuber with over 16 million views on her channel, TikToker. She works with many well-known companies such as Ghost and Alphalete. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we have Brittany Shaheen. Welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I'm stoked to have you on. So I want to know, everybody sees who you are now. They see your YouTube, they see your TikTok. You have over 60 million views on your YouTube, which is insane to me.
Insane to me.
But who were you before you were a digital creator? Give me a little bit of backstory.
Okay, so a bit of my backstory, I guess, is I grew up in Kentucky, very, very middle of nowhere on the farm, cows, the whole 9 yards, 20 minutes from a gas station, kind of,
wow.
kind of situation. So I grew up in a really, really rural area. Just me and my family. I had a lot of trouble in high school, a lot of bullies, mean girls.
I was going to ask, who were you in high school? Like, paint the picture of Britt in high school.
Britt in high school was a work 6 days a week. I worked at Panera aggressively.
Wow.
all of the time. And I had an eating disorder for several years. So my whole world was kind of revolving around like working and trying to find this control in my life that I think I didn't have at the time. And I was super studious, loved school. One of those people that I knew I couldn't go to college if I didn't get a scholarship. It was the only option for me. So I was like, I work at Panera till 9 and then fall asleep reading a textbook at the end of the night. And come like my junior year, I got really interested in fitness. I kind of, I was talking to somebody at the time trying to deal with my eating disorder through my church actually. And I finally admitted like, hey, I'm having a hard time. And really like through finding the Lord and through finding a new way to control my health, I kind of leaned into the fitness world. And at the time, there really wasn't anyone for me to look up to. I think there was maybe like 2 or 3 YouTubers back then, like Nikki Blackadder, Whitney Simmons was just starting. You were on YouTube. Yeah. I've literally watched Emily for like a decade.
Have you?
Yeah. Oh my God, so long. And yeah, there just wasn't a lot of us out there. So after high school, I moved abroad. I got to go to school in Spain for a few years. I studied international relations. And
that's so dope. I've always wanted to go to Spain.
Oh, it was amazing. I was in Madrid with my best friend. So it was like the most incredible 2 years. And I think during that time, I really found myself. And I had started competing the year before I moved there. So I did like 6 shows in 2 years. I was like 16 and just really fell in love with fitness and found a new way to control my health that was good for it in the long term.
You have traveled a lot, right? You mentioned you just went to abroad when you were pretty young. So what did traveling do in terms of your perspective and, witnessing how people live? Like, how did that grow you as a person?
I think at a super early age, I knew, it's time for me to get out of my small town. It's not enough. I want something more. And I always thought that I would end up in Boston. I was like, oh, this will be my city. This is big enough. And when I went there, I found that, I didn't really fit in. I didn't connect with it. And kind of on a whim, I decided I was going to go abroad. So for me, it was a really great opportunity to just see the world and learn about more than my tiny town and the girls that were mean to me in high school. So I think I just learned to find myself on my own, which was the biggest part. I didn't have a support system. So it was me, I better figure it out
Sink
or I'm going to crash and burn. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What would you say to the girl that is in high school and she's experiencing bullying and she's really taking it to heart, taking it personally and just really struggling? What could you say to her?
I would tell her that she's not alone and that it's not forever. And when your mom or your big sister or your best friend tells you that it's because they're jealous, it is true. It's so true. I wish I would have listened to my mom. And, when people are being mean to us and somebody says, oh, they're jealous, we don't believe that. And looking back, I see the difference between where people who were kind to each other are now and where people who weren't kind to each other are now.
Wow.
And there's a difference. And just know that like your future is bright. And if you take the high road every time and you don't let them take your future away from you, then like there's so much out there for you. So much.
That's so beautiful. And I agree. Like really think about what kind of energy you're putting into the world, right? And don't allow yourself to stoop to their level, because when you do that, that is what you're going to create in your life. And you don't want that kind of nasty energy or anything like that going into the rest of your life. So just be intentional about that.
Exactly.
What would you say to the bullies?
Oh, my favorite part of my job on social media is that the bullies enter my giveaways now, which is
Wait, stop.
so satisfying.
That's amazing. Like your bullies from high school are now entering your giveaways.
And they think I'm, a really interesting person now, which is really funny. And, to them, I would just say like, be kind, literally be kind. Like I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but I know that I'm a kind person and I know I have good intentions and a good heart. And that has gotten me places and it's gotten me to meet cool people and go amazing places. And anyone can have that. So, learn from what you did to me and don't do it to anyone else.
Yeah, no kidding. I think it's really important to just take intention with who you're choosing to be in the world. And it takes so much more energy to be hateful, to bully people, to be rude, to be bitter, to talk crap on people than it does to just be kind. And like, it feels way better to be a kind person. So if you're somebody that's stuck in that bitterness and in that anger, maybe it was passed down on you from family or friends or the way that you were treated, and that's why you're treating other people that way. Choose to be the person that breaks that generational thing that you're experiencing and choose kindness. And a great way to start with that is just gratitude. How do you practice gratitude in your life, or what has gratitude done for you in your life and your mental health and your daily activities? Like, how does gratitude impact your life?
So I've actually learned a lot about gratitude from you over the years. And I think this year, 2021 in particular, was a very difficult year for lots of reasons for me. And something going into 2022 that I want to practice more and I want to be better about is being intentional with, writing down what I'm grateful for every day and being better about that. And I think we all have a hard time and we all forget, how many things that we're grateful for and all the things that we're blessed with. And it's one of my big goals in 2022 to be better about that. And I think at the end of the day, it's very hard to be bitter. It's hard to hold a grudge. It's hard to be angry or be mean to someone when you're thinking about how blessed you are. So it's almost like that comes first.
That's so true. One thing I try to do is always, I imagine like the 16-year-old version of me, like getting to meet her and be like, giving her a secret, like, hey, like this is your life when you turn 30. And she would be so stoked. Like, she'd be like, are you kidding me? Yes. Like, she'd be jumping around, like doing cartwheels, throwing a dance party. So yeah, I try to like embody that 16-year-old version of me because it's still in there, and to be stoked and hyped. Because I think especially with what we do, and we're surrounded around incredibly successful people all the time. So sometimes you can feel like, wow, I've done nothing. Like I have so far to go. But I think it's so important just to be like, hey, like I've actually come a really far way, been through a lot of things, and I'm proud of where I've been, So I think it's important to like take that time and be proud and grateful for where you are as you work to get to that next level.
Exactly. Something I tell myself all the time is that comparison is the thief of joy. And it's so true. And, when I started my YouTube channel originally, my whole reason for the platform was I want to be what I needed when I was 16, because I didn't have, that person to look up to. And if I'm being that, I've done my job. And I tell girls all the time, they'll be like, hey, you posted this and it made me feel this way about my body or whatever. I'm like, unfollow me. Please unfollow me. You have to protect your peace and be grateful for exactly what you have and who you are and where you are. And don't let anyone or anything rob you of that.
I love that so much. And, I have found myself on social media before seeing some girls on Instagram that honestly, I'm like, props to you. Like, you look perfect. That's great. But like, I actually can't follow you because I'm comparing myself right now and I shouldn't. And it doesn't mean that person is bad. And they're probably great people, but it's just, again, coming down to protecting yourself, protecting your own energy and knowing what is good and not good for you. So I do the same. Like if I hear people are, for whatever reason, taking something negative from my platform rather than positive, I'm like, yo, unfollow. It's no problem. There's no bad blood. There's no nothing. Like,
protect you.
Yeah, protect you. Do what's best for you. And I think when you embody that, it gives other people permission to do that for themselves as well.
So true.
Yeah. And then it's like, that's where you can really have that growth in your life because you're choosing yourself.
Yes.
And choosing you is sometimes so difficult.
So hard. Yes.
Especially in relationships. Like, I feel like sometimes people, both men and women, can get really lost in relationships.
Yep.
Why do you think people in general, like, just get lost in a relationship versus like living their best life and choosing themselves and growing and being creative? And like, what do you know why that happens?
I think it really, really depends on the person. And I mean, you know me really well, and I've been in and out of some crazy relationships, some great ones, some really toxic ones for a long time. And looking back on kind of my lowest moments and asking myself, you know, hey, where did I go? Like, where did I get lost in that? And I think people who come out of those relationships, you first feel this like sense of guilt. Like, how was I so dumb to like fall into that?
Yeah.
And step one, like, we have to forgive ourselves. We have to forgive ourselves for who we became because of someone else, with someone else. And that goes for friendships too. Like, I think we all have friendships that we may leave a situation and feel like, hey, I don't feel good about myself after hanging out with that person. And I think it's about recognizing, you know, again, back to protecting your peace. It's recognizing how you feel with someone and after and what that looks like. And I think for me, I really learned that the times that I fell into those kind of dark places were because I forgot what I was worth.
Wow.
I really just would look at myself and be like, what do I even have to offer? And sometimes that's because we feel like that on the inside, but sometimes other people can really make us feel that way. And when you start to feel that way in someone's presence, like, you have to be aware of that and know when it's time to go. And I think the big change for me was realizing, like, hey, I have a lot to offer. Like, I'm a nice girl and I have something to give. And the second I realized that, I was like, hey, anyone who doesn't serve that, anyone who doesn't, one of my girlfriends, she says, does this friendship or relationship complement or complicate your life?
Wow.
And I think about that a lot. And I'm like, you know, if I leave a situation and I don't feel like that added to my life, then it probably took away from it. And I think we all have to learn that to avoid kind of falling into those situations.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So much gold in what you just shared. Seriously.
I could talk about it all day.
Yeah. Well, I think we have to recognize that some people are energy givers and some people are energy takers. And it's really recognizing those energy takers, because even, you know, sometimes it can even like feel really good in the moment. But like you said, when you leave, assess how you feel. And if you're feeling more drained, that's such a like huge red flag to be like, hey, maybe not this way.
Yeah,
no, definitely not this way.
Yeah. Like maybe not.
Yeah.
So
okay. So back to social media. I want to know, what is your favorite part about being an online digital creator? What's your favorite part?
I think my absolute favorite part is the community of women that I've built. It's been so important to me, and I'm sure you can relate to this too. Going back, like, you know, back when I was younger, I did not have girlfriends. I never had girlfriends. And even as an adult, I'm sure a lot of us can relate. It's very hard to make female girlfriends when you're older. And I've found that in social media. And, you know, I post a YouTube video and I read comments, and like, I'm in this new relationship, and half the comments from the girls are like, I'm just so happy to see you happy.
I remember seeing when you posted it on your story, and I like shrieked at home alone. I was like, what?
Yes. That's honestly the best part is it feels like I have, you know, thousands of girlfriends, and I never had that. And just that community, and, you know, a girl will message me and say, hey, like, I saw you get through this hard time, and it helped me get through that hard time for me. And that, you know, is the most gratifying thing in the world, that I could just be there for someone or make them feel less alone.
Yeah. And I think that's so needed right now, because, you know, we all have times and seasons in our life when we feel isolated or alone. And so I think having even just one person to make you know that you're not alone is sometimes what people need just to get through. What do you think is the hardest part about social media?
I would say for me, I think the hardest part is, it's two things. The first thing is being on all the time. I find that, you know, in this line of work, it's very easy you'll go on a family vacation, or you're on a date, or you're spending time on a holiday, and you kind of feel like, oh, I need to pick up my phone and post something. Like, this is our job. And just the constant on. And there was a week this year that I had a family emergency, and I didn't touch social media for a whole week. I mean, I barely opened my phone. And at the end of it, I was like, you know, emotionally, I feel like I can handle more right now, because I wasn't giving so much of myself away.
Wow.
And I think we give.
Mic drop right there. Keep going.
You feel the same?
Yes, I feel this so much.
Yes. And I think we give so much of ourselves every day. And I know to people who are viewing, our stories or our YouTube videos or whatever it may be, it's like, oh, you're just posting a selfie, or, oh, you're just talking on your story. But, we have bad days like everyone else. Mm-hmm. And there have been seasons in my life that were so hard, and I still had to show up. And I still had to be on, because this is a job. Mm-hmm. And I think, at the end of the day, it can be draining to just be on. Mm-hmm. And over the years, I'm in like year 4 or 5 of doing this. I'm like, you know what? Give yourself a whole day off. Give yourself Christmas off, a vacation off, and don't like put that weight on yourself, because you're exhausted at the end of the day. Like, whether I'm recording a 4-hour YouTube video or I'm posting 3 stories that day, there's a piece of you, like you give so much of yourself away. Like, how do you have anything left?
Absolutely. I think it's so important to recognize that we all have such limited time and energy. Mm-hmm. So, for me in my journey, I've had to really learn like, okay, what is worth my time and energy? Mm-hmm. Because especially when you start working with a lot of companies, it's like you have your stuff and your brand, and you have other companies, and you can get really wrapped up in just helping everybody except for yourself.
Yes, exactly.
And so I really had to learn how to help myself, so to speak, in the terms of like making sure that I do the things that are really good for me on a daily basis, so that I can show up full and not empty. How do you decide what to share and what to keep to yourself? Because there's a fine balance, I feel like, that everybody has to find. They have to find what's right for them. Mm-hmm. So how do you navigate like finding what's right for you, and has that shifted throughout your time in social media, and kind of what helps you make those decisions?
I think this is something that over the past 2 years I have learned the hard way, to put it lightly. I think it's difficult for anyone to decide. There's one part of it that's, what do I want to share as entertainment? And then it's the other part that's about safety. And I think so many influencers forget, not everyone out there watching our platform is a safe person that has good intentions for us. And last year, as we know, I had a stalking situation. My house got broken into. It was a really, not good thing. And it all stems back to a YouTube video I made that, was me searching for a house in Texas. And something like that taught me, when we share, and this goes for anyone of any age, like if there's a 15-year-old listening to this, please pay attention.
Yeah. Listen up.
You have to be so smart about what you share online, and careful. And I've learned now I don't post where I am when I'm there. I save it to a draft and I post it later. I never post really anything of the inside of my house outside of like a wall. Definitely don't put it anywhere on YouTube as much as I can. And we have to understand there's a safety boundary there. We have to protect ourselves. So I think like, hey, if I had bad intentions for me and I saw this, could I do something bad with this information? And if the answer is yes, I'm not posting it, or I'm posting it 4 hours later. So that's part 1 of being conscious. And part 2 is, it's protecting our personal relationships. For example, I have nieces, and I have a family that is not on social media, and people like them, they didn't sign up for this. They didn't sign up to be in the public eye. And I was in a relationship last year where, I told him up front, hey, I'm not going to share you. I'm not going to do it, because you will get attacked every which angle. And you didn't sign up for that.
Yeah, totally.
And we have to protect the people around us too in that way. And I try to be conscious of like, hey, are you comfortable with me posting this? Are you comfortable with me tagging you? And I kind of use that as a boundary to protect my private life going forward.
Absolutely. I love that. And I think it's so smart to just be really conscious. And like you said, you can never protect your safety too much. And that's something that I've had to learn the hard way as well. And I feel like once you start getting these red flags, hopefully it doesn't turn into a situation like what you had and shared on your YouTube channel, which if people are curious, they can check out your YouTube channel there. Because I think there's actually a lot of lessons in what you shared. So I think it would be useful for women to go back and read and listen. But I think it's just, you have to know that there are people with bad intentions, and you can get really stuck in this, like, everything is good mode and everything is light and fun and positive vibes and positive mindset, but you need the reality dose that like not everybody is that way. And so some of the things that you mentioned, like I now always post after, like I always post later. So I'll always post after I've already left somewhere, or I'll post from like the day before or something. So I'm not always doing that either, because like any pattern you have can be a pattern, right? So if you always post 2 hours later, that's also a pattern.
Yes,
so I think it's just learning to like interrupt those patterns and, you know, being conscious about it. I like that question though. Could somebody with bad intentions use this piece of information against me?
Yes.
I think that's such a good question to ask, and I'm going to just put that one in my pocket.
Save it.
Thanks.
Rainy day.
Okay, so you have traveled a lot of cool places. So I want to know what is, and you've also gone solo, right? Solo trips?
Times,
yeah.
yes.
Okay, so me and the other women listening, we want to know, what solo trips would you recommend, and what tips do you have for women that are traveling solo in forms of like safety and fun and just everything in between?
Goodness, I honestly have gone on so many solo trips. This is something that I started doing when I lived in Spain for college, partly because I was a college student and I, you know, just didn't even think. I was like, yeah, I'm going to go to Paris by myself with $10 in my bank account. Let's do it.
That's awesome.
So, but now that I'm older, traveling is a little bit different, definitely safer than the way that I used to operate. So I would say the first thing going into a solo trip is it's your mindset going into it. You know, if you go into it and you feel like I'm really scared, I'm not ready, it might not be the right time. And I think you definitely have to be in a place where you feel confident in being on your own before you can do that. Otherwise, you might go on a trip and feel very like, oh, I'm really lonely. This is really hard. And I think for me, I was kind of entering this place in college where I was like, I want to be alone. This will be the first time in my life that I am alone. And I craved that. And I want to find myself on my own. So I started doing that. My first couple solo trips, my parents would literally cringe. My very first one was to Paris. It was Christmas, my first year of college. I got there and my phone stopped working. Literally, my phone broke. I forgot my laptop charger, so I had no way to reach anyone. Obviously, I had literally like $10 in my bank account.
Oh my gosh.
I was walking miles every day in the cold, just absolute mess. And I stayed at a hostel.
I was just going to say, tell me you did not stay at a hostel.
I stayed at a hostel. It literally looked like a prison cell. Like, it was just terrifying.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, looking back, it was a very monumental trip for me because I vividly remember standing in front of the Eiffel Tower. I have a tattoo of the Eiffel Tower for this reason.
That's amazing.
And I remember standing there and I just walked like probably miles to get there and just thinking like, hey, I'm in the city of love and I did it by myself and I can do it by myself.
Wow.
And that was really important to me. And I think after that, I was like, hey, I'm going to do this solo thing. So things I don't recommend.
Yeah, let's go there.
Do not use the couch surfing website. Just skip it.
Did you do that?
I did that more than once. The first time I did it, I went to Switzerland. The host picked me up literally in a white van.
Stop. You
swear
did
to
not
God.
get in the van.
I got in the van. I was like 18 years old. I'm calling my mom. I'm like, if you don't hear from me. Oh, she would confirm. She hated this trip. She was terrified. He lived in this eco-friendly house that had no AC, no heat, middle of winter as well.
Awesome.
In Geneva. And he was a carpenter. So the bathroom was in a shed next to the house.
Like where you would normally get murdered?
Yeah, completely. With like power tools.
Stop. You literally were at Dexter's house.
Literally Dexter's house. Lucky for me, he was a carpenter. He wasn't a murderer. But it was still just like a bad, scary situation. Don't do that. Don't do that.
You know what? God is really on your life.
I know.
I mean, that is like 1 in a million.
Yeah.
Honestly, glad you're here.
Me too. Amen to that. So, and just some other tips, I would say, you know, you have to be very, very aware. I think, and you know, I hate saying this because this is the classic, like women shouldn't have to be aware, men should be better, right? Like we all want to say that, and that holds true. But I see a lot of women. It's
just not reality.
It's not reality. Yeah, we can't avoid it. And I've been in some scary situations traveling, and the thing that has saved me every time is being aware. And I get on my
100%.
girlfriends for this all the time. Do not walk with your headphones in. Don't put your hair in a ponytail. It's easy to grab.
Wow.
You shouldn't be looking down at your phone while you're walking at night. And I use this app. It used to be called Noonlight. I don't know what it's called now. But there's apps that you can get that as you're walking, I would like you hold your thumb on like a button as you're walking. And if you let go of it for like more than 10 seconds because maybe you fell or someone, I don't know, worst case scenario, it contacts authorities, tracks your location right there, things like that. So I carry apps like that. I do carry a firearm when I'm like at home. As far as traveling goes, it just comes down to being aware.
Yeah.
Look around at your surroundings. You know, when you walk into a club, if somebody's making you feel uncomfortable, like your intuition is not wrong. It's
100%.
never wrong.
I can echo that. So we took a girls trip to Cabo a few years ago, and me and all my girlfriends went out, and we had one night where we were going to go to the club. So every other night we were just at the house hanging together, but we wanted to like go dance and have a great night. So we get to the club, we're there, and I was going to drink with everyone because I was like, yeah, like let's have, some fun. So I have one drink and everyone else is like drinking and like really partying, and I just like paused and I looked around and I was like, absolutely not. This is not a good situation. And thankfully, one of my other friends that was there, as I was scanning and feeling everything out and seeing like literally so many men at that place that were just like, they were like vultures towards us and our group. I looked at her and she looked at me. We're like, yep, absolutely not. And we like jetted out. Yeah. Like it's not even worth waiting to see what might happen.
Never.
Like any time that you feel that, and women, we are smart. If you will just take time to be aware and to look at your surroundings and to look at who's around and who's paying attention, you'll see it right away. And you just can't be so stuck in your own little bubble and so stuck in like, oh, we're going to party with our friends and have fun. Like you got to be aware too and have your own back. So I was really glad in that moment that we got out of there. And, we ended up having a really great, safe night, but I agree. It really does take intentionality and being self-aware.
Yes. And, recognize the energy in the space you're in. And even this weekend, I was in Tulum for a bachelorette this weekend. And there were a few situations where the girls I was with were like, hey, we're really glad that, you're aware of your surroundings and you're a good read of people because, when we're blackout drunk, we need somebody paying attention.
Oh gosh.
And I'm not one to get blackout drunk in a public situation ever because I'm too scared. Like I genuinely, and I think that's a strength, as much as we don't want to believe it, I would rather be scared and safe than completely carefree and, something bad happen. And for most women, we don't realize how aware we should be until something bad happens.
Yeah, 100%. So. Well, everyone just kind of has this feeling, whether they are consciously thinking it or not, they think like that won't happen to me. When in reality, we hear stories all the time of it happening to everybody, or worse, we don't hear the stories because they don't want to talk about it.
Exactly.
So I think, safety is so crucial. Okay. Name your top travel solo vacations that you would go again.
Oh gosh. What are my top?
I know it's probably hard to choose.
So I would say one, I went last year, I went to Marbella in South Spain and I loved Marbella. If you're in the mood to splurge and have like a very like girly, bougie, like eat at a nice Italian restaurant on the water, truffle pasta kind of trip, Marbella.
Stop.
It's very safe as long as you stay, in the center areas. It's super safe. I met so many amazing people when I was there. I mean, I'd be eating dinner alone somewhere and someone would just come join me and say, hey, like, I'd love to have a drink with you. Just very friendly. And, that goes back to the safety thing. Just because you have dinner with somebody doesn't mean you need to exit or go anywhere with them or get in a car with them. You can have a casual dinner and be on your way. So Marbella is definitely a big one. It was really safe. I would also say London. Loved London. Good one to do safe as long as you plan your trip.
Okay.
So London is one of those cities that if you take one wrong turn, you could be in a bad area of town.
Oh.
So do your research. And honestly, as long as you stay, again, in the center area of London, you absolutely will be safe. It's really gorgeous. It's always very crowded. So you're never really going to be like on a secluded street by yourself. The only times that I was like calling, someone in my family, hey, this is where I am. I was sharing my location with people all the time. I'm very quick to do that. Even if I'm on a drive somewhere, I'll be like, hey, I'm sharing my location with you. Heads up. So London is a good one. And then, can I pick another one?
Yeah.
Ooh, another one I did is Mykonos.
Oh my gosh. I've always wanted to go to Mykonos.
So fun. So Mykonos is perfect if you want a super relaxing, like read a book, find yourself vacation.
Wow.
I did Mykonos. I'd probably recommend Santorini even more. I just happened to do Mykonos at the time. It was right before I graduated college. I spent like 6 days there. And when I say I sat in my little hotel room, I had my own private pool in my hotel. They upgraded me because it was like dead season in Mykonos. Do that.
Yeah, do that.
Do that.
Get the upgrade.
I read a book every day, and I don't think I talked to a human for like 4 days.
No way.
I went down to the beach and had lunch a few days just for, human interaction. But it was really just one of those, I could just sit in the peace and the beauty of it and just work on myself and read and like do the things that I wanted to do and really relax and turn off. And Mykonos is quite safe, I would say. They have like a town center that you can take a little taxi to, but definitely more of a relaxing stay at your resort kind of vacation.
Okay, so I've heard some people tell me not to go to Mykonos solo because they were like, it's too romantic. Like you might be sad there. Is that true? Or do you feel like It just depends on you.
I think it depends on you.
Okay.
Santorini, I think, is much more romantic.
Gotcha.
Because Santorini is like where people honeymoon.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Mykonos, you can go to Mykonos and party.
Oh,
like
I see.
you can go downtown and there's bars and restaurants and you can absolutely party. I just didn't use it for that purpose.
Right.
But I did find it really safe. The people were super friendly. I imagine that Santorini is similar. And I think too is, you know, again, if you go into it with the mindset of like, I'm doing this for me and I don't need anyone else to be happy.
Yeah.
Then you're not going to feel lonely.
I feel like you've had so many experiences in life that have really empowered you to be just so secure and confident on your own. I remember even just watching you like put together furniture, and it was so funny because I was doing the same, like alone in my apartment. I would have to like drag things from the lobby, the office, like half a mile to the back end of the building in the apartment I lived in to like, you know, get it up the stairs. And let me tell you what, when you were doing like manual labor and like putting furniture together and all of these things, and you do it by yourself and you get to the end and the table is done, you look at it like, I am woman, yes, right?
No, I don't need anyone. Yeah. It's the best feeling.
Yeah. Yes. What are those other little, can you think of any other little moments that make you feel like so empowered as a woman?
I think manual labor is definitely up there on the list. I had to fix a garage door this year. Wow. That was up there on the list.
That's so adult of you.
I know. I was like, am I an adult? I think this is what it means. That was one of them. I bought my first car this year. Like,
congrats.
Real buy a car.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That was up there because I'm like, nobody teaches you how to do this. I was sitting there and I was like, what the heck am I doing? What am I signing up for? And
then you really learn that no one really knows what they're doing, and you kind of just like wing it, and like if it doesn't work out, you figure it out.
Exactly.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the key to being an adult.
It totally is. Other than taxes, hire someone to help you.
100%. Don't do those yourself. Yeah. Did you see the meme I posted the other day? It was last night. It was like it was a conversation between me and the IRS.
Yes. Yep.
It's like, wink. Yeah. And it's like me. It's like, how much taxes do I owe? And the IRS is like, IDK. Like, I don't know. And then you're like, this much. And then IRS, sure. And then the IRS goes again, nope, jail time. And this little wink face.
Yes. 100%. I'm like, being an adult is totally just like winging it and hoping for the best. And honestly, I think we hear this all the time. Half of the scary things we do, if we enter it with confidence, like we know exactly what we're doing, then half the time we come out on top.
And half the other time we just figure it out.
Yeah. I kind of try to treat life like going into a club that my name totally isn't on the list. And I'm like, I belong here.
Stop.
And just believe me.
I love that.
Yeah.
You know, I actually did that once when I was in high school. I wanted to sneak into this club, or it wasn't a club. It was like a big party at this like town center place. And it was for, I don't remember what team, but some like athletic team, right? It was really dope. And I worked there and they didn't invite me. So I was like, screw you guys. I'm going to dress up and just, you know, see if I can get in.
As you should.
I dressed up. I strutted in there. They did not say a word to me.
Love it.
Yeah, it was amazing. And I got to like conversate with everyone. It was fun. It was one of my high school moments of like, I did that.
Like, that was me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so you work with some pretty big brands in the industry. Talk to me about your relationship with Alphalete and getting involved with them, and talk to me about Alphaland. Just give me your relationship with them, how it started, how it's going, and what's next.
Oh, what is next? Okay, so I was a huge fan of Alphalete. I mean, from launch one. I want to say that was in like 2016. Am I crazy? Yeah. 2016. Yeah. The guy I was dating at the time, I actually bought him the hoodie from the very first Alphalete launch way back in the day. So I have loved Alphalete for as long as I can remember. Like I said earlier, I used to watch Nikki on YouTube, even pre-Alphalete starting. And when I started my YouTube channel in 2018, I had, you know, some Alphalete clothes here and there. I would save up so I could afford one pair of like OG Revival leggings.
I love those still
the best. And I was just such a fan for a long time. And I started my YouTube channel, and I was living in the UK at the time, and I was doing try-on hauls. When there was a launch, I'd buy a few items and I'd try them on my YouTube channel. And I had a couple of videos do really well. And I think ultimately that's why they noticed me, besides me like obsessively posting them and tagging them in everything I did. Yeah. And I think that's a gap most people forget. Like, you have to know the brand, support them, tag them, or they're not going to notice you. We can see when it's not real support. So I got involved with them. It would have been the end of 2018. And I think I signed with them like August of that year. And I've been exclusive with Alphalete ever since. So a few years now. And honestly, it's been just incredible to see them grow. Not only to see the owner Christian grow like as a person and all the brilliant things he's done, but to see just the brand grow and the team grow. I have all my friends in Houston ultimately are via Alphalete. Yeah. We know each other because of Alphalete. So it's been such a blessing to me, and I've found a lot of community and purpose by working with the team. And I've loved so much. I mean, I joined when I had I remember hitting 10,000 subscribers on YouTube with you. And it was 2018 or 2019, I think 18. And I think about that and I'm like, I was in a house full of people with 100,000, 500,000 followers. And I was so inspired by all of you. And I think if I didn't get to experience that, then I wouldn't even understand how far this job could take me. And because of that circle, I kind of saw a direction that I could go in.
Wow. I just got chills. Okay. Talk on environment and talk on the people in your environment and how important that is. 'Cause that's everything, right?
Everything. Truly, truly everything. And I think I really learned, between 2018 and now that you are a product of your environment. If you're spending all of your time with somebody that isn't lifting you up and people that aren't pushing you to truly be better, you are staying where you are. And I've always said, I want to end up with somebody that's doing better than me. And I want my best friend to be doing better than me because they'll make me level up and they'll inspire me to do more every single day. And for you guys watching, Emily's a fantastic example of that. Emily is always the person that is doing more. I actually don't know how you handle everything on your plate. So sweet. And you have to surround yourself with those people. I think back to meeting Rob Lipsit and Caroline and all those people that trip and thinking wow, they have 500,000 people that support them. And this is their job. They get to do this fun stuff for a living, and maybe I could too. And I kind of felt hey, I'm just going to keep being me, and if people support it, that's awesome. And I remember hitting 10,000 subscribers, and you don't even grasp what that support looks like until you try to picture it in a stadium.
100%.
What does that even look like? It's kind of like a fake number in our head because it's hard to understand.
Even people on Instagram who have say 4,000 followers, right? They're oh, I only have 4,000, and they're comparing, and it's put 4,000 people in a room.
Yeah. And think of how many people you graduated school with.
Yeah.
Then multiply that by 1,000,
right?
Or whatever it is. And yeah, people say that they're oh, I only have 1,000 followers. I can't get there. And I'm I had 1,000 followers one day too. It's been years, and that's a lot of people that care about you.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've been with Alphalete since the beginning, and it's been really beautiful to see it grow and see it flourish and see so many people like yourself that come in and see a goal and go after it and get it. And now to see where you're at, cause I remember when you started your YouTube channel, right? And you were so excited and a little bit nervous, maybe a lot nervous,
terrified,
right? But you were doing it. And I was I was so excited for you and so proud of you. And just to see you evolve into what you have evolved into now is just so beautiful. And it's cool to see you so confident in your voice and in what you bring to the table, which I think everybody, they have to go down this own journey of figuring out what is it that they bring to the table, because it truly is so different from everybody else, and finding your own path and your own way can help you to not compare yourself with anyone else, but rather than to see them as living their full self and let it inspire you to be your full self.
Exactly.
So I think that's beautiful. You're also with Ghost. So explain your position with Ghost, explain how you got connected with them and kind of what you do for them.
Okay, so I started working with Ghost in, it's 2022, 21?
It is, yeah.
Midway through 2020, I think. And I had posted Ghost nonstop, same situation as Alphalete, for probably a year. And at the time, it was a lot easier to get noticed by Ghost when you were connected with Alphalete. There's kind of a really good relationship there. The owners are all really good friends, so that was helpful. And a lot of Alphalete athletes were Ghost athletes too. So I definitely had a good foot in, which was helpful, don't get me wrong. But I really supported them, and I signed with them as just an influencer. Luckily, my audience loved them too and supported them. And I love working with Ghost because they do so many cool collaborations. They did an Oreo protein last year, and Oreos are my favorite food.
My favorite food.
I'm I love this. This is exactly what I needed in my life.
Yeah.
And over time, my relationships just evolved more so during the pandemic last year. Well, during 2020.
Same thing, yeah.
What year? I don't even know. During 2020, I kind of got to a point in social media where I was feeling a little bit unfulfilled. I was running a fitness training app where I was training a lot of women.
Right. I remember that.
Body by Britt.
Yeah.
And I did that for about 2 years, and I built this app, and I loved doing it, and I loved the women, but I found that I was really emotionally drained at the end of the day. And during the pandemic, it was hard to find help, and I was just kind of this isn't working for me right now. I need to do a shift. So I had a friend that owns a company that was like, hey, you know, you're an influencer and I need somebody to help me manage my influencer program. And I was like, well, I'm home all day. What else am I going to do?
Yeah.
Sure, I'll try. And so I started basically helping him build an influencer program from scratch. And it came so naturally. It was just like this niche that I was like, oh, I think I'm good at this. I like talking to influencers. I know what they want because I am one. And I know if they're trying to rip me off because I am one. And it was just helpful. So I worked with them for a few months and kind of got to my end of my time there. I was just working a couple hours a week doing that. And Ghost came to me and said like, hey, we need somebody to come on and help us. And we think you'd be great. Are you willing to be an influencer and an employee? And I was like, heck yeah, I would love to. Love the culture at Ghost. I'd visited several times for photo shoots and things in Chicago. And I would sit down with their influencer managers and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing with the program that I'm running. And we would just bounce ideas off each other, and it was such a natural fit. So I started working for them in May of 2021 and managing their influencer program in conjunction with 2 other guys that do that as well, CJ and Sean. And it's been just so exciting watching them grow. We've tripled the size of the program.
That's
and
insane.
we have so much structure. I'm very type A, so I came in and I was like, here are the rules. Here is the structure. So I've been doing that for a while, and it's been amazing. And I've met so many cool influencers, and just I've learned how to grow myself and how to improve and how to help other influencers grow. And I've just had so many amazing conversations where people come to me and they're like, hey, what can I do better? And I love meeting people like that are like, hey, you know, you're in this position of like understanding my success. What can you do to help me? And I'm so like, yes, let me tell you all the info. Let me do my best to help. And it's been really special.
That is so cool to hear how you went from basically like Coach Britt, right? Body by Britt, to realizing that that wasn't the right fit for you, into shifting into something that now you like obviously love and, you know, can't stop talking about, and, you know, really enjoy working with the team and the influencers. And it's very evident to me just how much you're flourishing in your position. So what would you say to the people right now that, you know, they're in a position that they know is just not a good fit for them? It's not feeling good, but they thought that that was the way.
I would say I've gone through this shift several times pre doing my YouTube channel. Actually, when I started my YouTube channel, I worked full time in a software sales job in Boston, and I came home every day and cried. And I was like, I can't do this, and I'm not happy, and what am I doing? And, you know, at the time, money was king. I was 21 and I was making money, and I was scared to leave. And I think most people who are making a switch, the biggest fear is the financial piece. Like, what if I don't find something else? And will I like it as much? And will it be as secure? And I went through it then, and then I went through it again with the coaching thing, where I was like, hey, I have a lot of stability, but I'm not fulfilled. Like something about this feels not right. Like I don't feel great at the end of the day. Kind of like what we said about, you know, when you're in the presence of somebody and you feel bad after. I would do my job and I like didn't feel good after. There were days that I did, don't get me wrong, and some amazing relationships with women through that, that it made me so happy to see them succeed. But at the end of the day, I was still like, I think I could do more. And I don't think I'm, you know, using my brain to its fullest potential in this position. So I kind of leaned into the influencer piece. And I mean, even since the beginning of that year that I started, I've had several brands that have contracted me to just, you know, help them run a campaign or find me this many influencers for this. And it's been so fulfilling for me, just being challenged. I needed the challenge. So I would say if you're somebody that you're not feeling challenged in your role, like you feel like you could give more, or you're like, I might have more to offer and I can't even give it in this position, it's time to go. Like there is more for you out there. And I'm somebody that definitely thrives on a challenge. Like I don't want to be bored. If you're in your 9 to 5 and you're bored out of your mind, you only have one chance. Like this is not the dress rehearsal. This is your life. One chance. Right. Don't waste it. And I think of all the years I wasted on dumb things, and I'm like, I'm so happy now, and I'm excited about my life, and everyone deserves to feel that way, and everyone gets to feel that way. Like it's not that you have to, or you have to do a job. You get to do a job. Like the opportunity exists if you find it, and you know, the money's always there. It's always going to be there. You're always going to figure it out. You have to take advantage of your life while you have it.
And let me tell you what, there is no price on feeling fulfilled.
Yeah.
So some people think that the level of success or the measure is a number, right? A financial goal. But really, you might find in your life experience, which a lot of us have, that sometimes you're actually way happier with maybe less. And maybe it's less initially, but when you're happier, you're going to be able to produce more. You're going to be able to really step into who you were called to be and really create a result that you'd never be able to create staying unhappy.
Yeah.
So, okay, you have moved a few times, right? So you moved to Texas. We're in Texas for how long?
1 year.
1 year. Yeah.
Almost to the day.
In and out.
In and out.
So, okay. So talk to me about that, because I moved from Texas to California years ago, and I was like, I was so scared. I was so nervous, but I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go and try it out for a year. And if it doesn't work, I will leave after a year. I ended up staying 7 years, and they know my story, but like, let's hear your story. Like, you did it for a year and you're out. So, talk to us about navigating those feelings of wanting to move somewhere new. And then now that you're moving out, I think people have this idea that if they go, that they're a failure if they don't stay there. So like, how are you navigating all of these changes and feelings and emotions?
Big question. I will do my absolute best. So I am known to be the person that cannot sit still. I have moved so many times in my life, almost every year for like 10 years. I mean, I move all the time. And I felt that way often at first, like especially going into 2020. I went through a breakup and I didn't know where to move. I was like, where do I go? I was supposed to live in this place. Now I don't know where to go. And I moved back home for a year. And, then the pandemic hit and I was home literally like in a house for a year. Mm-hmm. And I think about that move. And that was, I think, the first time in my life that I felt like I was failing. I was like, going home feels like failing.
Oh, wow.
Like it didn't work. And why, like I'm going home, I'm going back to this place that I moved away from 9 years ago or whatever it was. And I've learned now that it's not a failure at all. Every place you live and the people you meet there serve a purpose. Every experience serves a purpose. And my time in Kentucky, I was so blessed that I moved there. I didn't understand it at the time, but I had a whole year 5 minutes down the road from my mom.
Wow.
And I hadn't lived down the road from her since high school, Wow. And in the moment, I felt like it was such a fail. Like, oh, I'm going back home. That's bad. And looking back, it was the biggest blessing I've probably had in a decade, was to get to spend that time with her and my family and get closer to my family again. And, a move like Texas for me, I was like, I'll move to Texas. Why not? I know lots of people there and I don't know where else to move. I'll just do it. And my excuse for moving all the time, and I tell everyone this, I have a lot of people reach out to me and they're like, how'd you just decide to move? Mm-hmm. It comes down to this. And my mom told me this when I was 18 and it will stick with me forever. There's only so many years in your life that you can just pick up and move with no consequences. If I had a husband or kids or a career that kept me in one place and there weren't that career opportunity didn't exist in another city, I would be stuck. Mm-hmm. We can't pick up our kids and move every year. We can't make our husband move every year, whatever. I'm like, I only get to do this for so long. I should try out all the places and find the place that feels like home. Mm-hmm. And I think Houston for me was a really fantastic experience because I had so much community here. Mm-hmm. I made some of the best friends I've ever made in my life here, and I've just gotten to surround myself with so many inspiring people. Ultimately, it wasn't it. Mm-hmm. A lot of bad things also happened in Houston, and I kind of have a bad taste in my mouth.
Right.
And on top of that, it didn't feel like home. Mm-hmm. There's been this like eating feeling at me all year that I'm like, I don't think this is where I'm supposed to be. Mm-hmm. And if you're feeling like that, I would say first just, sit with that. Like think about it, sit with it. Sit in your yard and like watch the sunset and be like, is this where I'm happiest? Or is there somewhere that might be better? And, you can try a place out for a year. You can try it for 6 months and change your mind. Mm-hmm. We get to change our mind. It's okay. As long as we're not hurting anyone else, I think it's fine to do that. And after a year in Houston, I learned a lot about myself. The word resilience for me came up every day this year. I learned to be resilient. And I don't think I was before. Considering like the difference between last year and now, I learned to be resilient. And going into my new move, I'm moving to Nashville in a week. I'm so excited. And there's something about Nashville that when I'm like walking around and I'm there and I'm in my new house, it feels so safe. It feels so good. Mm-hmm. I'm a drive away from my family, which turns out the older we get, the more we want to be near our family.
Totally. Case in point.
Yeah, exactly. And it feels right. And I think but it's also okay to go to a place and it feel really right for a month and then to be like, actually, maybe not.
Yeah, I definitely identify with what you're saying because like I said, I went to California And fast forward, it had been 7 years. And literally a year before 2020 happened, so like in 2019, I would have said that like I don't see myself leaving. And then the pandemic hit and everything with that happened, and it changed a lot for me. And I just kind of reached this place where I was really unsettled. I was at the sunset at the beach, because I always watch the sunset at the beach. And I just had this feeling, and it was actually a really sad feeling. I was like, I don't think this is it anymore. And it was so sad to me because it was such a beautiful part of my life. Like, I had some of the most beautiful experiences there. I grew so much as a person there, and I loved it. And part of me like didn't really want to leave, but I was like, my heart's not here anymore. And I think it's calling me somewhere else. So I agree, when you start to navigate those feelings, just allow them to come. Don't resist them. Ask questions. Be honest with yourself, and be excited about finding what is the right fit. Because truthfully, and you know, when I was looking, I actually looked at Nashville. I don't know if I told you that. Yeah.
No?
Yeah. I looked at Nashville and I went, and for me, I was like, nope.
Yeah. You're like, not for me.
Yeah, not for me. But what's interesting is when I was navigating that decision of where to move, I came to Texas and my family's here, and I had not had a close relationship with them in person for 7 years. So the second I got home and was around my family, I was like, this is it. Done deal. I don't know if this is it for 5 years or 10 years or forever, but I know for the next year that this is where I'm meant to be. And I'll tell you what, it feels so good to know that your heart is where it needs to be for the season that you're in, which, like you said, sometimes changes.
It does. And I think this is the first time in a year that I've been really excited about my life. And, you know, this past year was difficult and it was heavy, and like, knowing that I have this fresh start is so exciting and empowering. And I'm like, I'm so blessed that I get to do this. And I just, you know, I say it all the time, like, we can start over whenever we want.
Yes.
We truly can. Like, we're so lucky that we can do that. And I feel like this is really a fresh start, and I'm just so excited for a new chapter and to see what happens with it.
Can you tell us anything about your new relationship? Any tea that you can share with us?
He's totally going to listen to this. He is the best. I know he'll hear it, which is so funny. Okay, so fun fact, I will give you this. We actually met 5 years ago in California, in Orange County. Yes, so I went on this trip to California and met up with one of my friends from college from Spain. And I was like in a bad situation. I was like, hey, I know we haven't talked in a year, but I need you to come get me. So I meet up with my friend, and he takes me out that night with all his friends. I'd literally turned 21 like a week before. So thank God, because I was allowed to go to the bar with them.
Right.
And we go out, and this guy was there in a relationship with someone else at the time. And I was not in a relationship at the time. It was like very like messy, ugly situation, but like on the phone fighting all night kind of mess. Yeah. And I remember seeing this relationship going on then and being like, wow, like they're so happy. I hope I have that someday. And we all followed each other on Instagram and never spoke again. And 5 years later, we like miraculously reconnected. And I was in Nashville, and we met each other at a bar one night, and it was like the most obvious thing in the world to give it a chance. And
wow.
like just such a like, oh, there you are. Like, where were you before?
Wow.
And it's so strange to feel that way, because for the past year, I've been very like, everyone live at an arm's length.
Yep.
And I had a lot of like situationships during my hot girl summer, we will say.
Hot girl summer.
Yes. And it was just so empty. And I finally got to a point where I was like, oh, I'm so sick of being this like casual thing. Like, I don't want to be that anymore. And I went to Nashville like, I'm going to be completely by myself, and I don't want a relationship right now. Yeah. I want something that's all or nothing. That's where I was. I was like, I want somebody to be really serious about me, or I want zero. And somehow or another, we met, and within like 48 hours, we were still together. Like, we just like didn't separate. And I was like, what's going on here? Yeah. And then a few days later, we booked a trip to Mexico together.
Wow.
And it was just so fast. So we're like a month and a half in now, and I'm so happy. And he's just so brilliant and really inspires me to do more and be better. And I'm just excited.
That's
like
incredible.
Such a new fun thing.
Yeah. I'm so excited for you, and
Thank
how
you.
Cool of it that you're able to like share and be so happy and share in that joy and excitement, because I was definitely one of those people on Instagram that was just like so happy.
I know. And I never post like my private relationship. It's been 2 years since I've posted a thing. I mean, my last boyfriend, I was like, if you are missing, I won't post you. Like, if
Stop,
you're lost,
Britt,
I won't.
stop.
I swear. I was like, I'm sorry, I just won't. Because going through a public breakup is so
horrible.
Oh, it's so awful.
Horrible.
Yeah, it's traumatic.
I do not wish it on anyone.
No,
it's because like breakups suck, but like breakups online really suck.
Really suck. Really suck. And you know, it's so funny. In my most recent YouTube video, literally 2 years later, I finally addressed mine, and I was like, this is what happened, and here is why I'm so much better because of it, and here's how I grew. And I don't know, I wanted to keep everything so private, but now I feel like I have this like really good thing, and I still want to keep it private. I'm like, I just want it to be us for a while.
Yeah.
But I also, I don't know, I adore him, and I want people to like be excited with me. And it's so fun getting messages from girls that are like, you deserve this. We're so happy for you. Yeah. It's the best.
That is so sweet. Well, thank you for sharing that with us today. Yeah. Well, it's been amazing having you on. To wrap up the show, what would you go back and say to your younger self? Just one piece of advice that younger Britt would need to hear.
Oh, I feel like I have to think about it. I feel like 30-year-old Britt is going to watch this podcast and be like, what would you say to 20-year-old Britt?
Right.
I would say put yourself first every single time. That is something I have to remind myself of every day. I'm such an empath. I will put everyone else before me, and it will hurt me in the process half the time. And I don't want to lose that completely, but I also, you know, we as individuals have to put ourselves first, period. We have to take care of ourselves and protect our peace and protect our hearts. And I didn't know how to do that as a teenager at all. And I just let anyone in, and I was so drained and so hurt so many times. And I think if we really put ourselves first and what we want first, then we naturally will like keep out the things that are bad for us.
So true. Britt, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. This has been amazing.
Yes.
Well, thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Evolve with Emily. Please do me a favor. If you guys enjoyed this episode, tag both myself and Britt on your Instagram stories. Let us know what your favorite part of today's show was. All of her links will be down below, just all of them. Check them all out. Subscribe to her YouTube channel. Get on her TikTok. Get on her Instagram. Do all the things. Reach out to her. Yeah.
Please, yes.
Yeah, reach out to her. Say hi. She's great. She interacts back. And without further ado, we'll see you guys in the next podcast. Bye, everyone.